But today, I'm talking about this island, which is mini Switzerland. And the motivation for this came from a holiday in this place earlier this year. This is the village of Paschfels, and it is in Graubünden in Switzerland. The canton of Graubünden has a population density about half that of Scotland. Paschfels has 475 residents. It is a small village connected by bus to the local main town. That is the bus. That is the bus stop. There are a number of features about this bus and bus stop. The first thing about this bus, you'll notice if you look carefully, is that it exists. And the second is that there are people at the bus stop waiting for buses because it is used. This bus runs every hour to this place, which is Tussis Station. It arrives at Tussis Station at 59 minutes past every hour. And this photograph was taken from the platform at Tussis Station, and that's the bus just there. So you can literally off the bus, walk across that zebra crossing, which is the platform, and there is the train. And as you will see, that is the train to Chur, which is the local regional capital, and that train leaves at 2 minutes past the hour. And just before every hour, all of these yellow buses arrive from all of the villages all around the area, and people get off and they get on that train, and that train then leaves 3 minutes later, and that train goes to Turin, which means that from Paschfels to the regional capital, there is a train and bus combination every hour that takes 45 minutes. Now, actually, it's slightly smarter than that because the bus in the other direction goes to the station called Ratsons, which also meets with the train, which means that actually it's an extra half hour. But, you know, let's accept that an hourly service from a village of 435 people is acceptable. And that is provided every single day from early morning until about midnight. Now, the result of all this is that if you look at that's the number of rail journeys taken in Switzerland, you can see that slightly more double the number of rail journeys taken in Switzerland than here. So less home south there, that's Britain on the right there. You also notice that it's gone up since the pandemic, not down. Because if public transport is provided, people will use it. Now, the middle graph I haven't got in the UK, so we don't calculate the state in the UK, but in Switzerland you will see that the average person makes 200 public transport trips every year. And this is a country with a very large rural population and no London-style megacities. And yet, and that's because public transport is provided for trains and buses that feed each other, a lesson that we have not yet learned in this country. People use the train because it can take them to the bus that then goes out into the villages. People use the buses in the villages because it connects into the trains that can connect them to the city. It is one fully integrated network. Switzerland is amazing. It's like kind of big animal that kind of breathes every hour, you know. Every hour, its trains go out from Zurich and Basel, and they go into the small stations where they connect with local trains. They go to places like Tussis, where they connect with local buses. They go out to the villages, and then buses come back, every hour, out in, out in. Even everywhere is connected to everywhere else, every hour, repeatedly. It is quite remarkable. And the thing that struck me about this was, well, wouldn't that be a good idea to do here? Then I thought that that's really difficult. Because we don't do anything like that here at all. And then I thought, well, maybe we could do one demonstrator to A, prove we can, and B, to learn lessons. And I was inspired by this. Has anyone seen that photograph before? Yes. This is Mini Holland in Walthamstow, where I happen to live. And this was a demonstration project of let's turn an urban area into effectively a replication of an active travel environment like a Dutch city. It was the idea of Boris Johnson, a stop clock is right, I wouldn't like to regret to say on now in Boris' case, but he came up with like a good idea, and this was a good idea, but he was mayor of London. Put a large amount of money into two places in London, Walthamstow and Enfield, to say, let's demonstrate what it would look like if we do this really well. So that street that I showed you there, that's the main high street in Walthamstow Village. If you go back before 2015, that was 2 lanes of traffic, Very narrow pavement, typically pavement passing all the way along, a really toxic environment for pedestrians, and as you can see, it's changed dramatically. That's one of the segregated cycleways that was put in. So Mini Holland worked by creating a version of the digital Mini Holland. What it said until it turned Walthamstow into something rather like a Dutch. So my idea is, let's do that for the transport integration elements of Switzerland, this extraordinary way of buses and trains meet each other. So when I got out of holiday, I put out this LinkedIn post, suggesting exactly this idea and inviting places to say, partner with me to try and create something like this. And it really touched a nerve, because by my standards, it went viral. So 36,000 people saw that LinkedIn post. And as a result, Hope Valley, the Hope Valley Climate Action Group got in touch. And Hope Valley is the ideal place for this, partly because it's a valley, it feels a bit Swiss, you know, partly because if you look at that train line, it connects Manchester through the Hope Valley, through those 5 stations there to Sheffield. So you've got places like Manchester and Sheffield, where roughly a third of people do not have access to a car, unable currently to access all of those incredible attractions and destinations in the Peak District National Park, where Hope Valley is, because transport simply isn't good enough to take them out of those places. You can get a train every hour, which is one of the really good things about Hope Valley. It already has the hourly frequency train service to those 5 stations, but the onward connections just aren't there. So what we set out to do with Mini Switzerland is to create, in the Hope Valley, a replication of the Swiss transport system. Integrated bus and rail timetables, integrated bus and rail ticketing, integrated interchange, everything running every hour. It's got to be punctual, because these systems meet each other. The Swiss system is highly punctual. Really high quality service delivery. It will require investment, there's no doubt about that. The precise number of millions is low, but it's not zero. You know, this does cost money. In order to get significant benefits for all those regions, both social and economic. So the crunch will be to see whether that investment can be made. But it's not just investment for the Hope Valley. A bit like Mini Holland in Walthamstow then became a real demonstrator project for the whole country. We had so many people from local authorities all around the country coming in, visiting and looking what was done there, what had been successful, what could be done better, what lessons learned were, so that when other areas wanted to then roll out their own active travel schemes, their own active for neighbourhoods, those lessons could be deployed in exactly the same way. We see this not as a project for the Hope Valley, but as a national demonstrator for us all to learn. I'm still very happy involved in this project. I'm not being paid by anyone. I'm doing this entirely voluntary thing. I'm not being paid to be here today. And it's actually quite instructive, because in many ways, part of the challenge is there's no one I could go and ask to pay me. No one's asked me to do this. And part of the challenge is no one asks anyone to do this kind of thing, which is why it doesn't yet exist. So I'm going to keep pushing this and working with the various organisations that I've described in the hope that we can create that national demonstrator project. Why am I talking to you? Partly because if we succeed, I'd love you to come and visit the Hope Valley and learn from that national demonstrator project, and partly because I'm hoping you'll talk to lots of other people to say, actually, we need this national demonstrator project, and even though Hope Valley is way outside England's economic heartland, we need that learning opportunity, because that will then come back to benefit us in our future transport integration projects here. Final thing to say, obviously, any other questions, is if you don't already, which there's no reason why you would, please follow me on LinkedIn, and I will be doing regular updates on how we go with this project.